and I'm on a mission to connect with every creative writer in the world. And I need your help. The world is constantly changing, which is why it's our duty, no, it's our responsibility to inspire creativity. My creative writing tips, tricks, and strategies are gonna help you become a better writer, so that way you can beat procrastination. Join me on this journey to unite the creative writing industry. And let's inspire creativity in the world together. What does creative writing mean to you? Welcome to Kauffman Writes, the first creative writing daily live stream to help give you motivation, inspiration, and maybe a little bit of procrastination. We'll see how the stream goes today. You found yourself at Fiction Character Fridays. Welcome. And what is the absolute most fun thing to do? Talking about characters, building characters, and having fun with character development. If there isn't one thing that we absolutely appreciate or the thing that we resonate with, whether it's a TV show, a book, a movie, or any type of media, it's the characters that we fall in love with. Hey, what's up, Marta? Welcome to the stream. Good morning. welcome, my friend. And Atomic. Welcome to the stream, man. Welcome. All right, and we got a cool show lined up for you today. So I love character development, and I wanted to deep dive that thing on Fridays. Now, when we think about this week and some of the workshops that we've hopped into, we've done our story structure Tuesday. We skipped World Building Wednesday this week. We did some tips and advice yesterday. And today, I was like, what would be a perfect strategy? What would be a great thing if why don't we develop a character together? I think that would be perfect, and that would give you value and how to develop a believable character. But first off, if you're watching this on the replay, I got you covered. Time codes are added to the stream at the end, and that way you can hop to the point of the video that brings you the most value. All right, and our fan favorite characters so far. So if you've missed out on our previous Character Fiction Fridays, we have gone through a couple workshops now. So let me pull this up. So as we look back over some of the previous character workshops, we've gone into character development. We did a little bit of a deep dive in how do you set up, develop, and make a believable character. And then I went over character ideation techniques. I have my specific strategy, and this pertains as to how you develop a protagonist. It can be used for supporting characters as well. Supporting characters tend to be a little easier in my personal opinion, but it depends on what type of character you're trying to create. And then we've started going through our working list of our favorite characters of all time. As you can see, we have quite a number represented on here. Let's see. We got some sci-fi. We got fantasy. We got a couple from Harry Potter. Clearly, those are some of our favorite ones. We have some superheroes, some sci-fi. We got Captain Kirk and Spock. We got some classics, Sherlock Holmes, Miss Marple. And here's the list compiled. I think we're at about 20 characters. So make sure, who is your favorite character? I want to hear it in the comments. Drop your favorite character in the comments. If you don't see your character on this list yet, shout it out. I'm going to keep adding to this list so we can come together as a community and figure out who are our favorite characters of all time. Welcome, LeMay. Welcome to the stream. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. Hopefully, we got some nice, relaxing, fun stuff going on this weekend. Hopefully, maybe, just maybe, we'll get a little bit of writing in. Possibly. Un poquito. We'll get some storytelling in, and we're going to have some fun. But what better way to start off our weekend than by the pop culture that we love to talk about? So here's some of the fan favorites that we've gone over, and I think we're at about 20 or 30 now. Let's see, we got Gandalf, Voldemort, Draco Malfoy, Severus Snape, Superman, Spider-Man, Captain Kirk, Spock, Miss Marple, Sherlock Holmes, Dorian Gray, Uhura, 11, Elle, Bellatrix Lestrange, Luna Lovegood, Wonder Woman, The Golden Girls, Bridget Jones, Harley Quinn, Rick, Walter White, Dexter, Tony Soprano, Ender, Raymond Reddington, and Commander Data. Or maybe it's Data. I think it's Data. Commander Data. Whew, man, we got quite the list here. And I want to say we're at 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 30. So right now we have a favorite list of about 30 characters. Ooh, Marta, that's a good one. Dr. House is an incredible character. And I know we actually touched upon House last week as well. We did touch upon House last week. I know we mentioned him briefly. I think House is the perfect example of I would say of like a childlike character. Dr. House acts like a child 9 times out of 10, but because he has a high level of expertise, the strength, his expertise and knowledge as a doctor, his weakness, that he basically treats everybody else like garbage because he treats himself like garbage. And that's part of his whole character journey. Dr. House was a very well developed character. And it was definitely in the earlier days of more of the popular medical procedural drama shows. Very much, I want to say it went and started airing along the same time that Grey's Anatomy did. Grey's Anatomy was around that time period as well. Grey's Anatomy is still running strong. Let's see who else. You just saw a part of a George Lucas interview confirming that Darth Vader was the chosen one. Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. I think when we think of Star Wars mythology, I think through the second and the third episode, they talk consistently about how he was supposed to be the chosen one. Now, I think the way that the original trilogy is set up, technically parts 4 through 6, we're led to believe that Luke is the chosen one. And I don't know enough Star Wars lore to be able to guess, but I can or assume, but I can guess that it was probably some type of like secondary prophecy, or it was a result because the original prophecy failed. So that makes sense. Anakin Skywalker, absolutely. And I think when we think of characters, and let's actually make a distinction here, because Anakin Skywalker is a different character than Darth Vader. 2 completely different characters, completely different stories. If you think about it, the original trilogy, Darth Vader is the antagonist. He is his own character. The prequel trilogy, Anakin Skywalker is the protagonist, and it follows his distinct storyline. Even though it's the same person, it goes to show that we as people, like, we change. Whoever you are today is probably different than who you were 5, 10, 15 years ago, and you'll be different than a decade from now, right? So like our characters change. I think that's absolutely an important distinguishing factor. So let me put Anakin Skywalker. I do have to say, as a Star Wars fan, I love Anakin's portrayal the best in the animated series, Clone Wars and Bad Batch. In the times that he's referenced, I think his character is a little bit stronger in terms of the character traits and attributes. That's interesting because then we see his character traits pulled forward into his persona in Ahsoka, the live action Ahsoka series. So obviously there's a lot of similarities with creator, with David, with Filoni, but yeah, I think there were just things that were done well that we didn't see in the original film trilogy. Let's see. Hey, what's up, Mommy Tally? Welcome back. Welcome. We're just talking about characters and our fan favorite characters. Marta, he is portrayed as an asshole, but nobody understands the pain he had to deal with daily and how much it influences him. Absolutely. And I know you're speaking to House's character. And if you've ever been in an extreme amount of pain, and let's put emotional pain to the side for a second. If you've ever been in an extreme amount of physical pain, then you understand how much that pain shapes your actions, how much it shapes your perception of everything going on around you. I myself wouldn't say I've been in extreme portions of pain, but it definitely shared my degree of physical pain similar to others. And it's difficult to carry yourself the same way when you're trying to fight through physical pain, which is why House's character is done so well. And that's a reason that he's liked as a protagonist, because at heart, he's not a bad guy. He's actually a good guy who's been severely traumatized and has to work through physical pain daily. 100% agree with that, Marta. Really good call out. Dominic, oh, Marta, that could apply to House or Vader. I actually, because I was seeing the Anakin Skywalker comment, and I'm like, they were both in varying degrees of pain. Anakin's pain was a little more self-inflicted, but yeah, definitely. That's kind of funny. Physical versus emotional pain. So we have some of our favorite characters. Now, once again, if there's other characters you want to add to the list, throw them in the comments, because I want to continue expanding our list. But for us to practice character development, let's build a character. What more fun and what good practice can we do as we're building out a character from our community? So I thought, what better character to pick than the character that we got to play around with on Tuesday's stream. So if you were here for our Story Structure Tuesday workshop, we came up with a very fun character. I know most of you were here on Tuesday. We got to play around with, can you remember his name? We got to create the original structure for a story, the beginning portion of it, for our protagonist, Hermes the cat, who is coming back for his 10th life. All right, so let's go into some character development time. Protagonist. So Hermes the cat. Now, if you missed out on Tuesday's stream, essentially the heart of the story is Hermes the cat. Let's say we'll just put story theme or story. Hermes has to escape purgatory. Hermes has to escape purgatory. We'll reframe that. Hermes has no recollection of how. No, that's not. I would say Hermes has to escape purgatory by traveling through the 9 levels and understanding why he was revived for a 10th life, because he should have been dead. All right. Technically, you can argue purgatory is death, but something tells me that we can actually do something that's worse than purgatory, is basically not existing. He will simply cease to exist. So that's the heart of the story that we started developing. Now, when we put together the structure on Tuesday, today, let's think about what type of character can we develop from this concept. When we think about a character like Hermes the cat, now, a lot of writers, there's 2 styles of writers, right? We have the plotters and the pantsers. The plotters, you plan everything out ahead of time. The pantsers, you basically write and you just hop into it. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to put ourselves into the mind of a plotter, and instead of just doing a free write and developing the character through writing, which is absolutely a surefire strategy that does work, we're going to create a little bit of a profile. Now, I try to make the profiles like super easy, right? We want to ask the main questions that we think are going to pertain to this character's journey. And this character's journey is traveling through the 9 levels of hell. We know that he's going to make friends. He will befriend alligators who may be disguised as other things. He will befriend an alligator, or maybe the alligators will be his enemies. Enemies might be alligators in disguise. Also, since we're in purgatory, it's probably demons in disguise as demons. Or we could do other creatures. Demons might be a little too straightforward. We could also do, let's see, I think we came up with his sidekick. His supporting friend will be a flying mouse. Clearly, we're going a little bit of an animal vibe over here. Cat is someone independent, and we want our Hermes the cat to be independent. I think we do know for a fact that Hermes is a selfish individual. So when we think about our character, the 2 areas that you like to really start off with: strengths, weaknesses. This is always a highlight because this is going to determine the types of obstacles that we're going to put in the story. We want to create the most extreme obstacles that either will highlight the strength or make the weakness more and more challenging. So we got our strengths and our weaknesses. It occurred to me last night that there should be catnip. There absolutely should be catnip. Maybe Hermes the cat. I mean, we could go about it in a couple different ways, right? Maybe Hermes uses. Catnip usually has a positive effect on cats. So we could have Hermes be very receptive to catnip. We could use it as an actual item for Hermes to actually like grow and like get strength, and maybe it's kind of like that adrenaline boost. Strength. So let's do that. Let's give him strength. We'll give him a strength for now, right? Nothing set in stone. Strength of using catnip. Once again, we're writing a comedy here, so let's specify that. So our genre is probably like fantastical comedy, where we're definitely doing a comedy here. All right, so we're doing a fantastical comedy. So things that are going to help make the story as comedic is great. Now, that's not to say the character's journey is still going to be dramatic and true to the core, but the way we choose the obstacles and the way he interacts with them is what's going to create the comedic moments. Let's see, Mario. You said alligator, someone that follows physiological needs only. Not quite sure what you mean. Clarify. Let's see. Is each life represented in a level of purgatory? That's an absolutely great recommendation. We know that the saying goes, cats have 9 lives, right? So we're like, okay, well, clearly he's going through for his 10th life. And it kind of feels like the overall story is it's going to arc a similar, maybe a Scrooge type story. So I think that's probably the direction that we're going with the 9 levels. But we ask ourselves, if all 9 levels of purgatory are follows each maybe one of his lives, we have to make each level unique and different. So that way we don't feel like, oh, okay, so it's just another level. The challenge that we pose to ourselves is, how do we make each of his 9 lives unique? Hermes the cat. All right, so he's using a catnip, strengths, physical strength, speed. Are we going to use the cuteness factor? Strengths, cuteness factor. Let's see. Physical strength, speed. He's a cat. I would agree with speed. Physical strength. I would go back and forth on that. On strength, respect from others. I mean, if he's a selfish character, does maybe he's very charismatic. Maybe he's an extremely charismatic individual. Let's see. And what are some of his weaknesses going to be? So let's see. What weaknesses do we got? Hard to make friends. Very hard to make friends. He is a lone cat. Now, the question we pose to ourselves is, does he not make friends because he doesn't want to make friends? Or does he not make friends because he sucks at making friends? Because we can always make this an extremely charismatic character that's good at it, but wants to do things by himself, or he struggles actually with the social part. Hey, what's up, John? Welcome to the stream, my man. We're just doing some character development for our comedic cat, Hermes the cat here. Let's see. So we got strengths. Let's see. John lands on feet. Let's hope so. Unless, I feel like we'll probably be able to do something funny here. Normally lands on feet. I feel like there's going to be instances where he fails this. Like maybe too much catnip and he loses like sense of balance or something like that. Normally lands on feet, except for certain occasions. Let's see, what else do we got? There will definitely always be catnip. It makes me think that he's going to, one of his motivating factors. So I feel like catnip's actually also going to be a weakness for him. Because I think the catnip bit will be funny. I think it's one of those things we make both a strength and a weakness. Catnip, maybe he's addicted to catnip, right? Maybe he's a bit of we treat it as like an addict type ordeal where like he needs the catnip. Not that he wants it, he needs it. So it's going to be used, like we'll be able to create some great obstacles using catnip. I think that would work well. Let's see. He does only what he wants to. Yeah, so he's headstrong. Let's see. Let me drop this banner. There we go. All right, so let's see. He's headstrong, which is a good one. So actually, he is an asshole. I think we've determined that Hermes is definitely an asshole. So weaknesses, he is an asshole. I think that one's definitely clear. And spoiled, is he spoiled? The question we ask ourselves is if he is a spoiled type character, why is he spoiled? Exactly, John. I'm mixing up my genre today with comedy. But it's one of those things where I don't always pick the genre. I let the genre pick me. And when we started this on Tuesday, this story that we started coming up with, like, I think it was calling for comedy. Like, it was truly, we started developing this and I'm like, this story itself was calling to be a comedy. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. One of very true weaknesses for Holmes, and the violin actually works very well on some of the retellings, but addiction is always, I don't know if it's necessarily an easy one for a character to do, but it's one that we see a little bit more consistently because addiction has very clear downsides. Now, you see, Mommy Toy, like, that's absolutely a great question. And that is the right question to ask. Would each level be a weakness to overcome or something he needs to rise to? And you see, this is the fun part of the story of we get to decide. All right, so each level, we could go about it in a couple of different ways. And we'll probably dig into that a little bit more next week when we go into continue on into story structure. But that's definitely something interesting for sure, right? Is it the obstacles that he's going to have to overcome? So the beginning of the story is he wakes up amongst a bunch of alligators with no recollection of how he got there. The end of the story is he sacrifices himself to save a friend and let the friend escape purgatory. So that's the story. That's the beginning and the ending beats, as we had determined a couple days ago. I just remembered a fantasy novel where the catastrophe was a catastrophe. Terry Pratchett always has some hilarious stuff. Absolutely. He was born he was born spoiled. So if we think about the earliest iteration, his earliest life, that means that if he was born spoiled and he is an asshole now, it means something happened to him somewhere along the way that he does not want to deal with. So he had to experience some extreme tragedy, probably during his first life, that has led him to grow more and more resentful and more addicted to catnip and more of an asshole and all these things over the course of his lives. So I could absolutely see that. Could absolutely see that. Spoiled. And I would say probably as a result from his first life. And especially because this cat's gone through 9 lives. We've also haven't determined, like, okay, did he live 9 full lives? Did he live 9.5 lives? Is what type of world did he live a life on? Does he live a life on a world full of cats? Does he live a life in 21st century Earth? So many different fun things we could tackle with this. But as it right now pertains to character development, let's see. So I feel like we have a good growing list of strengths and weaknesses. Yeah, John, we were actually speaking to that earlier when there's absolutely no wrong way of writing between being plotting and pantsing. I think if you pant stuff out, right, you start just writing to develop the character. That's absolutely one great strategy. I think plotting it out can also give you a framework. Usually what I do in my own writing, and if you've been with me now for the past couple months, you know that I just started writing Last Scarecrow as what came to me. I didn't go back and create the outline and start developing it more till I was probably about like 30 pages into it, give or take, because then knew I had a story. And because I knew it was going to be a 100,000 word novel, give or take, I knew that I needed to at least have the bare outline to get me to the end of the story. Right. So there's no right or wrong way. The great thing with just writing and hopping into a character is you get to learn things as you're doing the writing. The great thing with planning it out is you get to make decisions so that way you don't write something and it doesn't work with the story you're trying to tell. What about his popularity? Because people get cats and dogs only. I mean, mostly other pets are not so popular. Something we could absolutely play around with. So maybe there's a jealousy factor, right? Maybe there's a jealousy factor with either other animals or maybe let's see. Maybe there's just not that many cats around anymore. We got the alligators. For some reason, Atomic, I see like the alligators being completely harmless, but Hermes is such an asshole that he like fights them anyways, and they end up being like this. We have this like group of alligators, and their like band is like the alligators, and they break out into this like this like 6-part like choir with like all these instruments and everything, and it'd be super funny. That's like something I would see in an animated show. Let's see. Self-preservation versus self-sacrifice. No sense of humor, doesn't understand irony. That's a great one. Let me tell you, that is an absolutely great one, because his lack of understanding of irony is going to give us so many opportunities to have fun with it. So weakness, lack of no sense of humor, which actually works very well with the character we're creating, right? Because we're building him as a very selfish, so he's very much in his world. He wants to do his own thing. He's headstrong. These actually make for really great weaknesses. Self-preservation versus self-sacrifice is a core theme. I love that. Absolutely a great one. The flying mouses is conscience. So essentially, if we go that route, the flying mouse essentially follows the Jiminy Cricket type route, right? The same exact thing that we see a lot of times in animated and Disney movies. We could do that. I feel like there's going to be a way to make it a little bit more fun, so we haven't seen it before. But I think we should actually do the flying mouse in that direction. There should probably be a trash panda in there somewhere too. I feel like the trash panda would be like a huge, like, it's probably going to be some type of like boss character, some type of evil boss character. For some reason, I could like now picture like this giant panda just like picking up all like this like trash and having this whole like armor's worth of trash. He's like, no trash in this panda. Like the trash raccoon trans panda. the the trash coon panda. Trash coon panda. That this is if a panda and a raccoon mix. What do we get? We get a trash coon. Oh my god, this sounds like a great character. Okay, so let's see. So I feel like we have some good strengths and weaknesses. We have some absolutely great strengths and weaknesses. Now, when I think about the other factors, when I think about my characters, so we want to think about what are his needs, what is his core desire, and needs. We've developed and we've given him clearly more weaknesses because all these weaknesses they're going to be fun, right? Especially for a comedy, we'll get to have a lot of fun. But when we think about a character, we need to know what is the thing that they want. Now, that thing could change, absolutely. And especially if we're doing a story about self-preservation versus self-sacrifice, it is going to change throughout the course. But deep down, there's something that he's really going to want, especially if he's experienced trauma. Then we need to understand what is the thing that he actually wants, and then what's the thing that he says he wants. And there could be more than one thing, but I always like to have a starting place on what do we think is the thing that he actually wants. Yeah, I think we could too, John. I think we could actually come up with a really funny character. Let's see. And food. Does he actually so do we give him a need of he just wants to eat? That could be a need. That's a fun one. All right, let's see. Core need. He wants food, especially catnip. Let's see. He wants more trauma. John, are we creating this? Are we going to treat Hermes as our like tortured artist over here? Or maybe he just likes getting into trouble. Maybe he likes picking a fight with people because that ends up creating more trauma. Because if he is experiencing other people's trauma and others' dislike and emotions, then he doesn't have to deal with himself. he wants I love absolutely certain kinds of trauma. He only wants certain kinds of trauma that doesn't affect him personally. I like that. he wants to watch others trauma, maybe because he's entertainment value, which leads me to believe maybe he's actually bored at heart. Maybe he is bored. Let's see. He wants the magic tuna. Oh my goodness. Wants food. There's a tail. And the magic tuna, that could actually be a thing that I could see us doing as like a minor or some type of plot point, right? There's some tale that in one of the levels that there's a magic tuna. But he thinks that the magic tuna is actually catnip in disguise. Let- Let's see. He wants to rule over dogdom. He wants to rule over dogdom. That's funny. He wants to rule over the dogdom. What did those dang mutts ever do to him? Let's see. He wants power. He wants power and control. So he wants power. He wants power and control. Because usually when you do a character that wants power and control, it's because they are unable to deal with the control over what their true trauma is. Hey, what's up, Bethany? A red cat, a Red Bull. He's our cat Hermes is going to be addicted to red cats. Once again, we're going into that vein of he has an addiction for food. Apparently, food is the way to his heart. Ad- Addicted, loves red cats. We're gonna call it red cats. We'll put Red Bull in parentheses, but I think that's hilarious. We'll use that. That's great. Red cat. Oh my god, that's great. Okay. So we want food. He wants food. We know so the food's a little surface level. So we'll put this as a surface level. Let's see, he wants to watch others' trauma. So I think this one's going to be going a little bit deeper. So we'll put this one is deeper. I'll put surface level here. Deeper wants to rule over dogdom. I would say, is that a main one? Deeper. This goes into the power. So I see all of these things actually in the same vein. So he wants to rule over dogdom. He wants to watch others' trauma. Maybe he's bored. He wants to rule over dogdom. He wants power and control. So you see, these are actually a lot of these ones are in the same vein, which is interesting. It makes us ask, what is the core of the trauma that he's running away from? Right? Because we want to understand when we're doing needs, the food needs are great because those ones are easy to play on. His need to rule, his need for power, maybe it's because he's bored, or maybe as a result of him being bored. We want to understand and ask ourselves, if we go to the deepest level, what is that trauma? Now, a lot of the times, the easy trauma is people were killed, some type of emotional connection was killed, and then he responded as a result. Let's see. If he wants to rule over the dogdom, did the dogs do something to him? Let me think. Actually, this gives me an idea. So I think what I would do is, in his first life, he probably was raised with dogs. He was probably raised with other animals. Maybe not necessarily a farm, but he was probably raised with other animals. That would actually make sense that he would have knowledge over these other types of animals. He never knew his dad. His too many tomcats. That's a good one. All right, so he never knew the father. Let's see, that's a good one. Let's see, never knew the father. First life, raised with other types of animals. And I think maybe something to do with the dogs would probably be like a second or third life. The dogdom as a result of something that happened in second or third life. So he never knew his father, which is a good thing. Who was his dad? A thief. I like that. I do like that. I think a thief is a good one. Thief is a good one. I like that. He never knew his dad. One of the characters, he bit off his tail. That'd be rough. Why would he bite his tail off? Or, oh, we could do a dog bit off his tail in one of his lives. In one of his lives, his tail is just a, an inch shorter than other cats, and he remembers the dog that did it. And the only way he'll get revenge is by taking over control of the dog kingdom. Let's see. That would be deeper in dog bit off part of his tail in one of his lives. Let's see. So there was one father, several mothers, and a lot of siblings. That actually sounds about right. That sounds about right. And he never knew his father. Now, if he had many siblings, it would be interesting if he had siblings who were of other animals, other style of animals, whether that was dogs or other types. So he had an early introduction to other animals. But I mean, we could go the bully route. We could go that he was bullied, but that one's an easier one. Let's see. What do we do? Something that's more unique, something that hasn't been done before. And when I go into like the deep character development, I always like to ask myself this: if he never knew his father and he's truly selfish, and we have all of these traumas, his weaknesses, he's a lone cat, he has to deal with things himself, he's an asshole, spoiled. So he was spoiled. So then if he was raised with others, then that means he was probably a favorite. It does lead us down the path of he was probably picked on. That is actually what it's leading to. All right, I got it. He had to have been raised by a crazy cat lady. Oh my god, it has to be right. Okay, but this crazy cat lady, like, yes, I agree. We should do crazy cat lady, but she should be like extremely crazy, right? Not like a good crazy, like she should be like a bad crazy. She should have been like a bad crazy and probably instilled in him the absolute like wrong values. I think that would actually make it really funny. Let's see. Raised by He was raised by a Karen. Karen the cat lady. Sure, her nickname was Catty Karen. Oh man, raised by Catty Karen. Crazy cat lady. Perfect. Perfect. What a perfect type. So that's who he was raised by. He never knew his dad. But he does know clearly he had multiple moms. So there is a whole thing. And that's good. That's good. So his core arc is he was instilled with the wrong values, the way that it was specifically traumatized. I think the way that he was specifically traumatized is it was probably that. I mean, you could go one of two ways. You could either go that he himself was abused, right? Or you go the other way. He himself was the one that wasn't abused, but he watched other animals being abused. So there's a couple different ways to go through that one. What's our cat's gender? Male. I think we agreed Hermes was a male cat. His other siblings were condescending. They spoiled him out of pity and did not think much of his abilities. Yeah, I think that could be a good one. I think less that he was bullied and more that he was kind of the odd one out. Let's see. I think that one could absolutely work. So I would say he was definitely spoiled. His core trauma Actually, maybe that's why he's in purgatory. Maybe he's in purgatory because he killed a bunch of other animals because he had a breaking point, right? With this, we could do an anti-hero type of thing. That might actually be kind of fun. We could make him an anti-hero. He ended up killing a bunch of other animals, pets. He had this called them the dark lives. The dark lives, and that could be a reason that he's in purgatory. His most recent lives, he's just ended up being more selfish, but he's in lives, it sounds like maybe cats are supposed to get better with each life. He's gone progressively worse each life. He was gender changing. Every single life, he's a different gender. Oh, that's absolutely hilarious. His core need is his core need is to, to stay the same gender. Stay the same gender for a change. Oh, that's funny. Okay, so we came up with some really good desires and needs. Now, the reason I didn't go into too much of the of other things that I would do with a character profile. Here's some other things. So we did the strengths and the weaknesses, and then we did desires and needs. I think these are always four great starting points. Now, if you're ever doing something like this with your own story, this is a great time to just set this aside and then go start working on your own story. I'm of the belief, make things easy. Don't make things difficult. If you have a brief outline, if other things come to you, write them down. But otherwise, the when you're having fun, now translate this and then go write. So usually that's what I would recommend next. I like doing kind of like a mixed approach where I'd be like brainstorm, write. And I go back and forth because it helps me develop the character as I'm writing. And then I get ideas, I write. The writing itself gives me more ideas and it becomes a cyclical process. And that's something that just works out well for me. Now, if I were to think about beyond the strengths, weaknesses, needs, and desires, if I were to think of what other things would I want to build out in a profile, I would ask myself things like we would go probably a little bit more detailed. So we would go family, and we kind of touched upon family a little bit. We would go family. What profession did he have? And of course, this is with cats, so we get that decides. We decide what type of world did he live in, right? And when I say world, it doesn't have to be a whole fantasy thing. It's we have to understand what was like the vibe, the culture of whatever society or towns or whatever where he grew up. We want to ask things like what are his beliefs? What did he believe in? Does he believe in nothing? Does he believe in ruling the world because he is the lone cat after he gets some catnip? What does he hate? What are his hates? What I really like to think about is I like to ask myself what are the six core emotions: love, hate, sadness, happiness, love, hate, sadness, happiness. I think frustration. Nope. Anxiety. We'll put anxiety. I don't think that's one. Love, hate, sadness, happiness. I'm like totally blanking. I'm going to just leave it at that. So I'm going to put here, but essentially I like to list these things out because we want to ask ourselves, what is the thing that he loves? What is the thing that he hates? What makes him sad? What makes him happy? What makes him anxious? Because by answering these questions, it gives us a little bit more feel for when we're now plotting out and we're writing the obstacles. And let's say he gets into he gets in a fight with the trash panda. Well, now we know, do we want him to go through an obstacle that makes him deal with love, hate, sadness, happiness, or an emotion? We want to stick to the core emotion as much as possible because the more that we show our character responding to an emotion, the clearer we make it for our audience and our reader. Absolutely. He has some absolutely great comments. No, with all them lives, gender just became because he was gender changing. He never knows which litter box to use. So now the litter box is wherever he's at. He uses the litter box of life, kind of like a dog. 7 lives as a man, 7 as a woman, plus 200 gender times 7 lives. I think that's a little too many lives for this one. One life he goes toward that. Yep, I agree. I think maybe like a second or third life, or maybe somewhere later on, he went like an extremely dark life. Like that's like the forgotten life. Awesome. So I think these are some absolutely phenomenal, great strategies. And I think we've come up with some great character development, some great opportunities. I want to really just continue to give you strategies on if you're working on your own character, what are more things that you can do to make your character believable? So this was a really good look at a character profile intro. We had a fun. That was definitely cool with playing around with Hermes the cat. All right, so we definitely had some fun with Hermes the cat. Stay tuned because we will be diving back into Hermes' story next week. Let's see, when we go back to our story structure Tuesdays, we'll plot out the next portion of Hermes' story. This sounds like a great opportunity. So make sure that if you missed this Tuesday's workshop, after you hop off the stream, that you go check it out because it was a good one. It's linked in the playlist down below if you're on YouTube. All right. And by the way, that was phenomenal. So what we're going to do next, we're going to hop into our daily writing sprint. I got to work on Last Scarecrow. But first, are you enjoying the stream? If you're getting value out of the stream, follow and subscribe. I do these daily live streams. We have a really super cool writing community, as y'all can see. I love hearing each of your opinions, and doing these collaborative type development sessions are so much fun. Mommy Telly, Marta, Atomic, Bethany, glad to have you here and new to the community. Marta, John, you guys rock. LeMay, you guys are awesome. Thank you for joining and thank you for being actively involved. The more people, the more writers that we bring together, the more opportunities it gives us to help other writers show what this process can look like. Writing itself is a solo process, but you can make the overall lifestyle of a writer much more collaborative. And I think that is super cool. So like I said, I do these daily live streams. If you're subscribed, you'll be alerted when I go live daily. I'm committed to at least the first committed to the year, and then I'll figure out what my stream is for next year. So today's 130 days of writing. Stay tuned. Fun. And before I hop onto the writing sprint, it is time for me to highlight my brand new tool, the Easy Edit tool. So brand new tool. I actually just redesigned the cover page because I was not happy with that original cover page. So let's see. I will throw this up as a banner. Perfect. So I created an absolutely free tool for the community to help make you a better writer, help make the editing process just a little easier. So as you can see, I like this cover a little bit more. I don't like my last cover. So I redesigned it. Essentially what it is it's a shorter document. It gives you recommendations, ideas, and a couple strategies, which I've distilled from the past 6 months of editing. How many stories? Probably editing at least well over 100 stories actually. But I noticed a lot of key and common things, a lot of common problems that I'm seeing for each of the areas of world building, structure, character, plot, and dialogue. So this goes into a little bit of detail, and right, so you can see, right, I give a couple of solutions and then I give some examples for how I would go about then using these solutions. It gives a great strategy and a great recommendation on how you can overcome certain examples. So I thought this would be super fun. If you want a copy of it, let's see. If you want a copy of it, let's see, my email. I just set up a brand new email. Let's see. You could, I guess I could probably just link to the page. Let's see. Perfect. So if you want a copy of it, there's the link to the page. You can go subscribe, go put in your email, and I'll email it to you. So if you want a copy, absolutely free. Just using it to launch my brand new newsletter. Super cool. Super proud of how it came out. All right. So that is what I got there, which means it is time for, let's see, 155. What section are we on? So I think I'm on a big section with Last Scarecrow now that I think about it. All right. So let me pull up Last Scarecrow with where I was at. All right, so all right, so I'm going to do this as a 20-minute sprint. We'll get 20 minutes on the clock. There we go. We got the writing sprint, and then I got all of this stuff all set up. Awesome. And once again, if you're feeling super creative, feel free to come along and join me. You can work on your own writing, on your own story, whatever comes to mind, whether that's brainstorming, writing, or editing. The whole shebang counts. I'm going to continue on Last Scarecrow. As y'all know that I am very much at a very intense moment, actually. I think I made some good decisions yesterday. So I'm actually excited to hop into this. All right, so I got my screen ready. And I gotta drop this. Perfect. And I am all set here. I'm going to cue up the music. Badly upstairs. He lacks the balls. Oh man. I absolutely love these puns that y'all are coming up with. I think it's justice. I think it's a sign. Somebody's going to have to work on Hermes. Somebody's going to have to start developing a story. You guys have some absolutely great ideas here. I absolutely love it. Martin, no need to apologize. Your guys' ideas are so funny. Let's see, Bethany, you said you're stumped in your writing on phrasing scene. If you have any specific questions, we could always help you out if you'd like. Okay, so let's see. I am set here. I got 20 minutes on the clock. I'm ready. All right, so let's do it. Writing sprint. It's time to write now. Man. Bethany, I'm just seeing your comment. So you're saying you're trying to how to describe a character's power is displaying to the MC. Let's see, the ability related to his power. So you're trying to figure out how to describe it. And his ability is water, and he does these blood memory bubbles from a cut of his. That's interesting. So he's using his blood, which then becomes water. I mean, essentially, we're made of water, so I'm not surprised. That makes sense. And you're trying to figure out how to describe his powers. Is it the questions that come to mind? Is it you're not sure like what word choice to use, or you're not sure? Does the power need to be a little bit more defined? If I were describing a power like that, right, which is essentially blood magic, so that's a mix somewhere of between blood magic and water magic, of which I actually know they touch upon that in I know they use that ability in Avatar, in the Avatar series. But his ability is he does these blood memory, and you say it's a blood memory bubble. Yeah, I think if I were you, Bethany, I would first off make sure, assuming that you understand and that you've developed the full power, I would define blood bending different. Okay. And he does these blood memory bubbles. So it's more that he's creating, his ability is water. So it's more that he's creating water in these blood memory bubbles. It's more that he's creating water out of his blood. Yeah, okay, awesome. So it's more that he's creating this water out of his blood. It's almost like he's transmuting the blood into water, right? That's kind of what it feels like. He uses the 55% water and plasma, which is super cool. So I think if I were you, then I would figure out because it sounds like you're trying to figure out how to describe a character. How to describe a character's power he is displaying to the main character. Let's see, it has to come from the person for memory use. Okay. He uses the 55%. It has to come from the person for memory use. Yeah, that makes sense. So I think what I would do is you go about this in a couple of different ways. So you said you're trying to describe a character's power, which he is displaying to the main character. So I think the question you want to ask yourself, Bethany, is the goal of this scene for the reader to understand how the power works? Or is the goal of the scene for this character who's describing this power, is the goal of it for him to just like touch upon it? Is it just like an initial sneak preview of the power? That makes sense. It's like the memory core from Inside Out. That actually makes sense. And in Frozen 2, the same water as memory. I like that. Both very good references. I like that. So I think if the goal of this is to describe, is trying to trigger her lost memories. Okay. Perfect. So he's trying to describe it so that way her memories are triggered. I would, because this is a really cool thing, I think I would use less words. I would use less dialogue. I would actually focus on the action. I think the action would allow you to better do more showing than telling, and how this ability is coming forth. So instead of him saying like, oh, I'm going to do this, or this is how this works, have him just do it, right? Have him do the thing of, okay, he's pulling out the water, or he's pulling out the ability, he's turning it into the magic to try to draw her memory out, and then maybe have the explanation be a result of her asking questions, right? Have her ask, because that would feel a little bit more normal, right? If some magic thing's happening, don't have him tell her, have him answer her questions as he's doing the thing. And then based on his character, either A, he explains things as he's doing it when she asks him questions, or B, he's just like, all right, just watch. I'm going to do it. I'm trying to get your memory. Yeah, I think that's how I would go about it. I would try to play around with the actions, and I would try to play around with showing how the power works through their actions and less the dialogue, because it's a super cool ability. And I think this is a great opportunity for you to be able to show off this part of the ability in this chapter. I think that'd be super cool. Absolutely. I hope that helps a little bit. I hope that helps a little bit. I try to put myself in the mindset of, if I was working on this story, how would I go about showing something like that without like looking at it into detail? That would be my recommendation. Do some more showing. And then also, Bethany, ask yourself questions of, use the 5 senses. What is his power? What does it look like? What does it smell like? Like, that's blood, right? Blood has a smell. Let's see, Avatar didn't touch memory and blood bending. Yeah, and that I do remember. Avatar, it was more about like the healing portion of it. But I think the memory is super cool. I think that's a really cool concept. Yeah, I think that's cool. Yeah, so I would say just do as much action as possible. That'd be my recommendation. And then don't be afraid to just try something out, like try something new. And then after you've written it, if you're like still uncertain about how you want the scene to come out, or maybe it's not sounding like you want, then definitely feel free to throw it up for our Saturday, our story critique show. Absolutely. But that sounds like a really fun story. I love looking at things like that. So yeah, thanks for sharing. I hope that helped just a little bit as I orient myself around this ability, which is super cool. Okay, let's see. Yeah, especially doing anything with blood. Bethany, you have so many different opportunities. And I think that would actually be really fun. That creates for like some really dark uses of the ability, which creates for either great obstacles or great antagonists. That's super cool. Really good ability choice. That sounds fun. Absolutely agreed. With great power comes great responsibility. All right, end of writing sprint. Okay, so that was a good little writing sprint. We got some really great writing and stuff out of that. I feel like I felt pretty successful. I was trying to figure out how I'm going to set up the obstacle for the next thing that's about to happen. And I think the practice with the section really gave me a good idea. We're in a very disenchanting part of this story, and I'm actually really happy with the decision I made. All right, so I'll get to explore that. I'll probably be hitting the main plot points, probably, I don't know, in the next day, the next couple days. I could tell getting through this section is going to take a couple sprints. But other than that, that was good, successful. I hope you were able to get some writing done yourself. And now, as we look towards creative writing on the morrow, do you want your story read? Do you want a free reading and a critique? Make sure you send the excerpt to my new email, Kauffman@thecreativeghost.com, the-creative-ghost.com. My new email, which I'll be using. So send me an email if you are wanting a free reading and an excerpt. I believe I have about 7 to 8 excerpts submitted for tomorrow. So super excited. We got some new readers and new stories as well. Definitely looking forward to it. I'll be going live at 2 p.m. Mountain Time. Our story and critique show is one of the most popular that we have of the week. So make sure you stay tuned. It's really fun, great experience. I get really into the readings, and we have some really great critiques and responses. It's an absolute blast. So make sure you don't miss out, and it will be a lot of fun. And that is all that I have for you today. Make sure to edit, or make sure to reach out to me if you need the easy edit tool. I posted the link in the comments earlier. And don't forget, tap the like button on your way out. Let me know that you got value out of the stream. It was absolutely great. We had some great time developing our character, especially Hermes the cat. Great time. Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone. And for next week, see you tomorrow. And Atomic, I'm going to email you. I'm going to email you as well on what we chatted about earlier this week. I need to shoot you an email. And then Marta, for next week, yeah, absolutely. There's no maximum or minimum page length. If you send something super short, it makes it a little easier for me to get into it, because then I know it's not going to be a full 20-minute thing. Absolutely. Yeah, definitely as well. And Bethany, if you're ever needing feedback on your story, always feel free to send an excerpt in the future. It's super cool. Once again, the live experience is great, but all the Saturday critique shows are also available on the replay as well. So thanks so much for today, y'all. Today it was a great workshop. It was a great character development deep dive. You all are awesome. And that's all that I got for you today, writer friends. Don't forget, words are wind, but stories are forever. I'm Kauffman, and I'll catch you on the morrow. Stay